March Unit 1, headquarters. Move out. Lead vehicle heading out of the fairgrounds. Thanks very much to Brown County Fairgrounds. March Unit 2, move out.
Morning, Convoy Crazies. Johnny here, coming at you from Bemidji, Minnesota. It's a balmy 37 degrees. So I'm going to make some hood coffee. It's not frost, thankfully. But pretty much. Look at that sunrise. Whew. Little wispy clouds. I was looking on the weather when I was checking the temperature. It says I might be able to see the northern lights tonight. So that would be a very nice treat. Out here in the field, like, I can't even kid about it to get it off my chest, because, you know why. Like, if you know, you know. I gotta keep it to myself. All right, my friends, take a look at the map today. We're going to start in Bemidji. We're going to come back to Bemidji for lunch, and then we're going to head on to Walker. First break is going to be up in Black Duck. And there was a rumor we're going to have breakfast there. I don't know.
Support team on the roll. Thank you, support. Any adventures today? Have a safe journey, support. Thank you. You guys have a nice cold ride. We're toasty. Good to hear.
Couldn't do much filming with my gloves on. I'm not really in a good mood today anyways, but we made it to Black Duck, Minnesota. You saw apparently the world's largest black duck statue, and that was pretty cool. And so from here on, the maps get a little screwy. So we'll just get there the best we can.
All right, Johnny, start your unit going around the circle. Chippewa National Park.
Be advised, there's a civilian vehicle coming up behind the missus.
Highway Northeast on the left.
There's my buddy Art. Hey, Art!
Hello, my name is Wanda, and I'm the camp host and tour guide in the summers out here. This is my 4th summer, and it is an honor to be here and give this very special tour to you folks. With some confidence, I can say this is the first time that we have had military vehicles in here for over 80 years. Wow. Welcome to Camp Rabideau. I want to start by giving you a little bit of a history on this particular camp, just some background stuff so we don't have to repeat it all the way around every time we do go through. The CCC was formed in 1933. President Roosevelt came to office. This country was in the grips of the Great Depression. We had poverty like we'd never seen before. Unemployment was between 50 and 80% depending upon where you lived. And that did not count us women. We were not part of the official workforce then. So how many men we have here? Yeah, half of you don't have jobs, okay? So, the CCC was originally formed for young men 18 to 24. They had come from extreme poverty. They'd be unemployed, unmarried, no dependents, and not enrolled in a post-secondary education, no college or VOTEC at that point. It expanded to be 17 to 28, and I've seen records of folks older than that, and I have seen or heard tell of stories of young men 15, whoops.
Repeat again.
Okay.
Let it up and go again.
Just sneaking through the gates. It's not like we had computer databases back then, right? A little bit of peach fuzz and they'd pass. So, okay. This particular camp was founded in 1935 by a company out of Missouri. And they were here for a very brief period of time, and they started building the buildings. They didn't get them all done. January of 1936, they moved to California. Company 708, which was formed in Bena in 1933, moved up here in January of 1936. I believe it was the 5th. It was between 40 and 45 degrees below zero, and they were in open Army trucks. Yes. And not all the buildings had been built yet. So they had a mess when they got here.
So stop your complaining this morning.
First command at CCC camps like this one was the U.S. Army. And that was nationwide. Second command here was
Just rekey again.
Just rekey.
Okay. Second command here was the U.S. Forest Service, and they are still here today. And we'll be talking about both. This camp was in operation from January of 1936 until the end of 1941. December of 1941, we all know what happened, Pearl Harbor. All the money for the CCC was immediately reappropriated into the war effort, and the CCC camps as such shut down. Some of them were repurposed into military training camps. Easy do, Army was already there. Matter of fact, if they had several close together, they consolidated them so they could have a bigger camp. Some were turned into prisoner of war camps for German prisoners. And I've recently heard that we had some for Italian prisoners. Some were turned into internment camps for Japanese Americans. And we had, I believe, one of those in Minnesota, although I have not been able to nail it down. We did have several prisoner of war camps here in Minnesota. There's a map up in the Ed building, you'll get to see that. There's also a cute story. Remind me to tell you when we get up there. Okay?
Push again.
And then some, like this one, were straight up abandoned. After the Army got done taking what they wanted, they left the rest behind. There is a rumor, or legend, that the trucks they weren't taking with them got drove out onto the lake out back, onto the ice, and that they're in the bottom of the lake today. So if you got any scuba divers, you want to go hunting for a truck?
Never good today.
I do have a
Come back
son who
at a
thinks-
warmer time.
Yeah. The fishing back there is supposed to be really good. Got a fisherman down the way that he's been catching record bass down in there, and bluegills, just huge bluegills. So anyway, when the Army left in 1942, this place was abandoned, and it sat empty. And in 1945, the University of Illinois signed a lease on this property with the U.S. government, and they were going to run a summer program for their forestry and engineering departments. They started in the summer of 46, and they were here until the summer of 73. So almost 30 years. During the time that they were here, they had to keep up buildings that were in good shape. They were allowed to tear down a few that were a wreck. They were allowed to repurpose some. We will be talking about them off and on throughout this tour. And they did some of that. We have them to thank for there being anything left here. When they left in 73, the place was abandoned again. 1976, we landed on the National Registry of Historic Places. And Forest Service was going to keep up a handful of the buildings and let the rest rot. And they did a very good job of rotting. In the late 1990s, some folks got the bright idea that our education building needed to be restored. And they started working on that.
Yeah.
That's the last building on the corner.
You sure
You
can.
See what they did. That brought some additional interest, and some grant money was dropped on this property, and some serious restoration and stabilization started. You can see from here, we have cement piers underneath that building,
Are you okay?
and there's a wood construct.
It's just like my legs are
That
wobbly.
wood
Oh, okay.
construct
Well,
has
you just hold
a
right
platform
on
it.
there.
So these buildings were all
No,
jacked up.
no
The
apologies
glass was
required.
taken off, the building jacked up and moved. Those cement piers go down below our frost line, so that's deep, especially in this country. That woodwork and the platform pulled the building up. It was brought back, put on its foundation. They came within a 1/4 inch of original location. Put the glass back in, new rolled roofing, and a paint job, and called it good. They fought forest fires. They built campgrounds, state parks. Matter of fact, before the CCC, we had a few national parks, but by and large, we didn't have any state parks. States weren't investing. CCC did a lot of that. And they built a lot of national parks. Where are you folks from? Wisconsin, okay. Learning on the job, it was one of the career options here. Altogether, we had 27 different career options that were taught here. So we had a barrel stove set here. It was vented out here. The gurney is authentic. We do ask that you not touch it though. We're trying to preserve it. So the hot water heater is a wood stove behind the door. Some of the plumbing's still there. The shower head is really interesting. You'll go in and take a peek at that. Yeah.
How many people could you have in here in the hospital?
It depended on what
You wanna go
year
in
you
there?
were here.
Yep.
Take a look around
It
the
changed
corner
over
of
the
the.
time. Over here, we had a
After
working
you.
storeroom.
So this is the hospital, huh?
Yeah.
So, I step on in, and like I said, outside, these buildings were prefab and assembled on location, and they were just big old empty army boxes. So think open to the rafters, bare bulbs hanging off that, very simple, functional, not fancy. And obviously something happened in here. The CCC, one of the mandates they had was to do what they could for the local economy, wherever they were parked. And one of the things they did was to hire local men. They called them LEMs, for locally educated men or locally experienced men. And those guys would come and do different things. One of the things they do is teach programs. And we were blessed to get a LEM who was a master carpenter to run our carpentry program in the late 1930s. And he and his students remodeled 3 of our buildings. You will be going into 2 of them for sure. This one, which is done in Art Deco style, and that's what all of this is Art Deco. The next one we're going to go into, and the Forest Service officers' quarters, which is over there, and it's technically not on the tour. Supposedly these things wrote up in some architectural magazines. All these curves and arches are amazing. We have recessed lighting above each cot. Each cot had its own light switch. Something to remember is back then rural USA, period, but especially rural Minnesota, did not have electricity, and we did not have running water. Indoor plumbing was a novelty. So these boys were living high in the hog compared to what they would have been at home, especially if they came from a rural area. So these are lined with what looked to be repurposed food cans or coffee cans, which one would expect back then. They repurposed everything. The trim here, that's Art Deco. Things I marvel at are the attention to detail, pride of workmanship. What these boys learned was amazing. And I don't know if any of the rest of them are gonna get this story. I can tell it again later for the full proof you need, but I put the name of one enrollee to this building, and it happened by a fluke. Some years we get some kids from the Student Conservation Association here, and they stay on camp here when they're working on the forest. And 2 years ago we had a crew of 5. And one Friday night I bought a stack of pizzas. We headed up to the education building, started pouring through old documents in the filing cabinet to see if there was stuff I should know, things I should have out, whatnot. And one of them ran across a story about a young man named Stubby. And, you know, we laughed. What a nickname, right? What a name. We moved on. That was Friday. Sunday, end of the day. I'd been doing back-to-back tours for 6 hours, and I was ready to call it a day. Went to the gate to lock it. In rolls a car full of women. And I was not excited, but they didn't want to tour. All they wanted to do was walk the grounds in memory of a neighbor. He had been an enrollee here in the late 30s, was drafted, went to the European front, came home, went back to the community up by Canada, opened a carpentry business. Was an amazing carpenter. Died at 102, and his name was Stubby. You can't write Stubby was here on the wall. It'd be a federal offense. I try to avoid those.
How did you generate the electricity here?
We had 3 great big diesel generators up the hill, and we made our own.
Diesel.
Yep. Okay, we are going to meander out. Just push through Sean's little group here.
After you,
Go ahead,
sir.
I'm
Okay.
right behind
Yeah, tail gunner.
First brought in 2nd lieutenant straight out of officers training school to run them. I'm gonna pop a cough drop because I've got cotton mouth. Anyway, so we had young men in their early to mid-20s who'd just gotten their bars and the right to be saluted, and were very puffed up and full of themselves, in charge of a bunch of civilians, because the CCC is Civilian Conservation Corps, ballpark the same age as them, who didn't care about the Army book, didn't care about all of his power, and he was not getting the respect he wanted. We had a lot of friction, an awful lot of friction, and a never-ending supply of KP for a while. Eventually the Army got smart and they brought in Army Reserve officers, men at the other end of their career. Their age alone commanded the respect that young man wanted and never got. And things got a whole lot more mellow. But we still had a man who knew how to lay down discipline if necessary, but was a little bit more in control of himself all the way around. So.
And wise.
Yes. There is a story that our first commanders, Army and Forest Service, when they were down at Bena, would only speak to each other through their secretaries. That gives you, yeah, a bit of an idea of the kind of friction there was. A lot of power struggle. So, back here we had 3 bedrooms, one for the commander, sub-commander, and the Army doctor. The guest room was used for an Army officer that would come up here from Fort Snelling once a month to do inspections, or by the Army dentist that would float through here every 3 months with his foot power drill so he could torture our boys. So, and the shower here is a little different from the one over yonder, but again, they had hot and cold running water, flush toilets and whatnot. This building was one that was remodeled by that master carpenter and his students. The cutaway shows that we are not 2x4 or 2x6 construction, it's 2x4, but it's not nominally 2x4, it's the real McCoy. And there was no insulation. So you can see where we've got 2 boards there. One of those is what's called a sister. Because of the historical nature of this property, we're not allowed to replace a board unless we absolutely have to. But we are allowed to bring in a sister to offer support to one that's a little on the weak side. And as a woman, I find that kind of interesting, that it's sisters that are helping hold things together. So, the paneling in here has a story behind it. Company 708 found some logs floating out in Lake Benjamin after the world thawed out. And they drug them in, sent them to a local sawmill after they dried out, and had this knotty pine tongue and groove paneling cut from that. Each of these boards is locked into its neighbor, and this stuff is a 1/2 inch thick. Again, in here I marvel at the attention to detail. The fact that these buildings, both of them that you've been in now, were jacked up twice and moved. Once to get them off so we could build a platform, and once to put them back on, and they didn't bust them all to bits. It's amazing. So, 2 over there, Two that are facing across and one way over on the corner. Every barracks had 30 racks. We could house 210 enrollees. So we're missing one of our original barracks, and the one over yonder was repurposed into a fourplex by the university for faculty that had children. And the two that are facing us, we are repurposing. That one on the right is pretty much done. The one on the left, well, they started working on it today. We had History Corps here this summer and Northern Bedrock Historical Preservation Corps. Both were here at different times, and they did a lot of work in that building, and it's amazing. Hopefully they get to finish it next year. On really cold nights, they wind up going out to the motor pool to start all the trucks to make sure they run, because those babies, they didn't like cold. So there's a couple of cute stories about guys stoking the stoves. If they got too noisy in the middle of the night, the ones in their cots might heave their boots at them. And if a young man couldn't find his way to get out of bed in time to get to breakfast, he might wake up to find his boots nailed to the floor. The nailer was super nasty. They went under the building, because this was up on rocks, and cinched those nails back. And he had a boy running his breakfast in his bare feet. Most of the graffiti in here is from the college days. There is one bit on this rafter that we do believe is probably from the CCC days. It says, loneliness, cold, and pain are good for character, so get with the program, Forester. And that was pointed out to me. My first tour was to a group of Forest Service agents that were here from out of state. They were on a 3-week fire watch because we were in a red zone. Fire danger was so high, you could not have a campfire on the forest anyplace. And no charcoal grills. You could use a gas grill, but no charcoal grills. After the forester got done reading that, he went and sat on that cot and tried to put himself in the mindset of a new enrollee here.
Thousands and thousands.
Yep. We had 4,500 CCC camps nationwide that were like this. We also had them on Indian reservations. Those were ran by Bureau of Land Management and Bureau of Indian Affairs. Barracks. And drug it over, put it behind the bakery, attached the two buildings, opened it up, and made a dining hall and kitchen, or mess hall, that remarkably turns out to be the mirror image of what our original one was. So we play a game of pretend in there. Young man who'd gotten in trouble doing KP. KP included obviously washing dishes, peeling potatoes or otherwise processing produce, cleaning grease traps, taking out the trash, and amazingly cleaning the latrine. So they had it covered on both ends. Menu for 2 days. And the pricing here is not because our boys paid for their meals, it's because the Army had a budget and it was broken down by the day. And they tracked whether they were over or under every day. Okay? Here again, we pretend I'm going to tell you how the Army did it here. They did not use a dinner bell. What they did was they would blow a whistle, and all of our enrollees would line up outside the door. Once everybody was in line, they'd blow another whistle. The door would open, and they'd come in and take a stand next to the table they were going to sit at. Once everybody was in place, a third whistle gave them permission to sit down. The table was already set with all the dishes they were going to need. A meal was brought to them, platters and bowls. They were served at the table. They ate their fill. The Army officers ate in a private dining room like that little room back there. They ate the same fare that was served out here. They were not allowed out here. Their presence would have put a dampener on the camaraderie, the laughter, the jokes. Commissioned by our commander. And there were two of them. Together they made a mural. So they were, when they were originally painted, they were side by side. It was one big painting and they were framed separately. This one was not in the building when it burned. We don't know about the other one. Okay? What I do know is that a number of years ago, a Forest Service worker was in Duluth, and he went to a sale, or they went to a sale, and they found this painting there, recognized it as belonging to Rabideau, purchased it and returned it to us. My predecessor, his name is Rick, and if you want his tour, it's online on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and type in Camp Rabideau, and you will find his tour is available online. But he used to say he was doing research in the bars of Duluth looking for the other one. And that's not what I'm doing. Toothbrushes, razors, shaving cream, tobacco, cigarettes, chewing gum, soda pop, candy, 3-2 beer, and who knows what all else. And they had to be old enough to drink to get the 3-2 beer. We had one enrollee who came from a family of barbers. He set up a barber chair in here, charged 2 bits for a haircut. I got to meet his grandson last summer. That was cool. So every year I get new connects to the history of this place. So when you tell anybody about the new stuff, and he specified the DNR and the National Forest Service. Yeah. The first of the buildings to be restored. This is what they were up against. A couple of years ago, I got to visit with the project manager. He was here on a tour and he gave me an education. Boards like this that are totally shot could be replaced. Boards like this that weren't had to be taken out, cataloged, coated, and put right back where they belonged. As you can see, they took the roof off and started over. This section here with the tarp on it is this room over here. Pardon me, right away. They had to jack it up and reattach it to the building. This was our office for our, that hole in the wall wasn't here. This door was over further and we had a hallway that ran all the way down. We restored it back to the way the university had it because they made too many changes to take it back to the way the CCC had it. So over here we had our library. It housed upwards of 500 books. The Army would rotate in new books every month, take out some of the old ones. It also housed all of the professional public. And the paint on that rec hall floor, I think we can blame it on the fact that the adults that were supposed to be supervising did not, is a CCC replica. And if you've ever been to these before, I use this one as an example. This is the one we're turning into a modern missile. The project manager said it was the worst he'd ever seen when he got here. He does historic question, can it be done? So, the map up there on the wall shows exactly which camp it was. But we had some German prisoners that advised them way too much. They wanted to escape and go back to Europe. They figured they could get out of camp, acquire a canoe, they could float down the Mississippi River to New Orleans, jump ship, and head back to Germany. Well, they managed to get out of camp, they managed to find a canoe. Then they even found the Mississippi River. So what those poor boys didn't know was that it goes north, it goes south. And by the time they got into the deep woods of Minnesota, our mosquito convinced them that it was better to go back to prison than to continue on their journey. They got tools for their own personal projects, failure to return them on time, we get their paycheck help, which might have made Mama mad.
I'll say.
You know, we had a mechanic shop. Our boys could learn to be a truck mechanic or heavy equipment mechanic. They could also learn to be a truck driver or heavy equipment operator. Both of those had classroom and behind the wheel versions. So that's this. This is a different motor pool. We had 20-some vehicles in our motor pool at one point. So if you have those in your property, destroy them because they are destroying our wetlands.
How many people went to the CCC?
There's a thing in the front building that just points. And the reason they did that was so that if they had like 3 towers or more that saw the same smoke, then they could triangulate where those fires were at and communicate that information. Communication was huge. Prior to that, it was like anybody's guess where the fire was. So, a felling axe, that stuff is stuff they would use for fighting fires. The tank, we still use a tank like that today, only it's made out of fiberglass. They use it to get to where they can't get with the trucks. So, imagine a Forest Service worker going up against a forest fire with a tank like that. Yeah, it terrifies me. Pray for our...
That's true. Kenny, he's lived, he is.
I'm not talking about...
Do it right.
All right, well, I delivered my escort safely back to her vehicle, and now I'm going to go back to the Jeep and put these papers away. I hope you enjoyed seeing the CCC camp, Rabideau, part of Roosevelt's New Deal. And I can't remember when first gear was, but I'm going to see if I have something to snack on here. I'm getting a little snack-a-tite. Very neat place here, very beautiful. Thank you for the great tour. Yeah, buddy, rough riding. Bemidji, Minnesota, home of Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox there, buddy. That's a lot of bees. Wasn't that a cool stop at the CCC camp? Yeah. I've always said that the CCC was the greatest thing that ever happened to this country, you know. Got us out of the Depression, trained all those young men, gave them jobs, gave them a military mindset, and what did they do with that? Everything they learned in the CCC, they went and they won a world war. You know, sent some money back home for their families. And look what else we got out of it. Practically all the state parks the CCC built by hand. And you know, 80 years on, we still get to enjoy them today. So yeah, it's such a great thing. And you know, World War II aside, I personally believe that it's one of the greatest things FDR ever did for this country. Things don't go right.
Which one are you driving?
Oh, I'm that Jeep all the way back there.
Okay.
All the way in the back.
Sorry for interrupting.
Oh, that's okay. It's just you. Oh, you dropped here. You dropped your backpack's open. I think. Yeah, your backpack's open. Look at that pretty sky. Whoa there, horsey. Throw out the old anchor there, hot rod.
Roosevelt Road Southeast.
All right.
Second left.
I'm not going left, I'm going right. Bitch and Betty. Headed across the old railroad tracks there.
CS1 up here, take this 197 that goes to Park Rapids. Straight ahead, don't take the left, go straight ahead.
Holy cow, we came up through here. We came up through here on the freaking Maple Leaf Runner. I remember that little SE turn.
Alright, everybody close it up and pull over on the shoulder. There's plenty of nice soft grass there. You should say hard grass.
I didn't realize that we're gonna go right past Leech Lake into Walker, Minnesota. That's why that sounded familiar, because I was gonna stay there, and instead I just went all the way across the state. Holy pokers, buddy. Convoy life. All day, so I should get like double the mileage instead of half the mileage. It wasn't quite half, but coming out here I had a headwind all day long, all the way across Minnesota, and it knocked me down to I think 13 miles a gallon from like 15. So a tailwind's always welcome.
A year.
3 weeks. So this is an item that we've been doing for all of our convoys, all of our host cities. We print up a license plate for them. And so we just wanted to thank you for officially welcoming this to this town.
How are the burgers?
Oh.
So good.
Did you
The
cook them?
important part. Okay, and I'll be right back. Oh, he's getting a picture over there.
Hold
it up.
Hold it up.
Hold it up.
There you go.
There you go.
There's the money shot.
And we do have one more way to thank you. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, look out.
Thank you.
Today had its ups and downs. How in the world am I gonna get around that big fat brown moose tail? Old moose tail is blocking the whole road here. What the hell? What the hell? Tell you what we're gonna do here. We're gonna bring her down. I'm gonna commit another convoy felony. I'm gonna back this thing up without a spotter. Oh yeah. Oh, you betcha. I don't think I have enough room here to get this thing completely swung around now. All right. Up and over, baby. Oh, my shit's gonna fall off the walls. And one more. That's how you do that when the sheriff's not watching. Don't you know? You betcha! Alright, gas first, and then if they have ice in there, we'll get some ice. Looks like they have an ice machine there. And oh, I gotta get water for coffee in the morning. So we'll do this and that. And then head to camp there. I might actually get a shower tonight because I got showers, but it's supposed to be cold. So I'm with my phone. That's how we do it. County Museum. Police Department. State Trooper. Now we'll just whip her over here. Six cylinders of freedom. Oh, that's a pretty little development there. Skywater. Generalissimo!
You just scout a place yet?
No, I just pulled in. Oh, there's someone behind me. Oh, yeah.
Now, put some zip at me.
We got it in stone.
Oh, this is the jacket I'm giving you.
Okay.
Hey guys, so everyone's in the midst of setting up their camps, getting settled down for the evening. We're up here at the Walker, Minnesota Rec Center. And apparently there's a weight room and really nice showers and just all kinds of really pleasant stuff in there. So gonna get my stuff wrapped up here, maybe scrub the old bomb dropper, and hang out with Willie a little bit. He's gonna airdrop me some photos to have. And it'd be nice to get some clean pants on and get a shave and all that stuff. I don't want fop, I'm a Dapper Dan man. So that'll be probably it for this video. Gotta find some clean clothes here. Actually, first I gotta go take a Duke first. We'll see you in the morning. Well, we got visitors even after dark, and everyone's gone home. Everyone that had set up tents for the night have moved inside into the heat because it's supposed to be a low of 40 again tonight. I'll go chit chat with these folks whenever they swing around again. They've been stopping in every vehicle, I assume to take pictures. So I just talked to Jerry for about a half an hour. He was so interested in the Convoy program. I'm so glad I flagged him down. He had all sorts of questions. Excuse me. So the rec area put a Facebook post up today and shared one of the MBPA Historic Convoys posts, I guess, saying that if you wanted to get up here and see the military vehicles, to get up here. And so you saw him in the video. He came around, he stopped at every vehicle, and he was shooting pictures and stuff. And we got to talking, and fascinating, so kind. This is the Minnesota that I thought we were going to be in, you know? Yeah. Because up there in Grand Forks and East Grand Forks, people were not this kind. I don't know. It must just be like a regional thing. That is my experience, in my opinion. There were a couple of really kind people, but not like this. I mean, they opened up this whole building to us here all night long. Free hot showers, free heat, free TV, free basketball court, you name it. I mean, they gave us the key, practically. So I just want to make sure I show my appreciation, and I'm sure everyone's appreciation here. Wow. Well, I'm going to go in and edit some video and get yesterday's video uploaded and today's video uploaded, and then you folks will be caught up, because guess what else they have? Free Wi-Fi. I haven't decided if I'm going to rough it out. You know, Gene, our friend Gene, great guy. Great guy. A pleasure to be around. He's roughing it out there in his tent. And if he's roughing it, I gotta rough it. I can't go in here in the nice, cozy, warm. Yeah, I don't know. Just happy to be here. So, come on in. Sure. Well, there's a lot of good pictures in those books. That's Life magazine, I think.
Have you ever seen that Henry Ford, I don't know whose YouTube video it is, building the Liberators?